Welcome to Gift of Life, the Organ Transplant Podcast. These are the stories of those who have received, given, and who are waiting for the gift of life, organ transplantation. Now here's your host and heart and kidney recipient, BJ Odom.
Welcome to Gift of Life, the Organ Transplant Podcast, a place where we journey through the incredible world of organ transplantation. I'm your host, BJ Odom. Each week we uncover inspiring stories and meet extraordinary individuals who are connected to the world of transplants. Remember to support us by leaving a review and subscribe on your preferred podcast platform. And don't forget to join us on Facebook at Gift of Life, the Organ Transplant Podcast. Today, we have the privilege of speaking with Lisa Donahey, a living kidney donor whose selfless act transformed the life of Dr. Serra through a life-saving kidney transplant. This remarkable gesture not only saved the doctor's life, but also greatly enhanced his quality of life. Join us as we delve into the inspiring story that brought these two individuals together as we sit here surrounded by heartwarming photos of Lisa and Dr. Serra. Let's rewind and hear it all from the beginning, if you would, Lisa.
So in January of 2018, I had my phone. To give you kind of an idea, when I go to bed at night, my phone goes on Do Not Disturb. And I don't look at my phone until the next day. Something was telling me to grab my phone and open Facebook, which is something I have never done. Once I put my phone away, I don't do that. So I open up my phone and it instantly goes to Facebook. And I see a post from Dr. Serra, Dr. Gene Serra is who I donated the kidney to, from his girlfriend of 20-something years, put a post that Dr. Serra was looking for a O-positive blood type for a donation, that he was in kidney failure. And his girlfriend, Gloria, and I were not even friends on Facebook at that time. Neither was Dr. Serra. And I instantly was like pushed to sit up, and I open up her post and I automatically sent her a message telling her that I was an O-positive blood type and that I would be interested in talking more with them. I never received a response back from her. And then 2 weeks later, Dr. Serra actually called my husband to ask him how to cook a prime rib. And he had asked him, hey, did you receive my wife's email? And they said no. And he told him that I had sent them an email that I'm an O-positive blood type and I would be willing to speak with him more in depth. And he's a general surgeon. He's retired, but he still had his license. So he actually sent me for all my blood work. And that started within a week of the process, but it was not an easy process. It went another 2.5 or roughly 2.5 years before I donated to him. But it was, he was turned down from Florida Hospital, Orlando, Florida Hospital South, Tampa. And then there was another one that he was turned down from. And to come to find out, Dr. Serra was 79 years old when we started this process in January of 18. Florida has an age restriction, I guess, on donating any type of being a donor or anything at that point, or that's what we've been told. And so his girlfriend has been in the carriage industry, horse carriage industry for many years, is very well known, has driven horses for Queen Elizabeth. And the surgeon from Mayo Clinic, Minnesota, which is the head surgeon for the kidney or the donation department at Mayo Clinic, had come down to ride some of her horses and just so happened to tell them who he was. And he said, Dr. Serra, come to Mayo Clinic. And this was in January of 2020. And by June 11th, I had donated a kidney to him of 2020. But the story in between there is just an amazing story. We can get more in depth into that, but that's how long the process took before I ever donated to him. He was 81 years old.
Now, it was also that you kind of knew of him, or you knew him, or how?
Yes, I knew him from, my husband has been in fine dining restaurant his whole life, and he had owned a restaurant called Vic's Ember Supper Club in Leesburg, Florida. And Dr. Serra had been going there for, 20 something years. And so I had known him from doing a couple catering events, but I had never gotten to know him. But God put it on my heart to donate a kidney to this man. And I did not care of his age. His age was never a factor to me. God told me to do it, and I listened to him. And we were actually a perfect match, and he's Filipino.
Wow. So,
and I'm a twin sister, and I'm a twin, and the surgeon said they don't even see twins that are this much of a match.
So I know you say, God sent you or what, I mean, like I said, you open Facebook in the middle of the night, which you hardly ever do before you go to bed. You saw this post and immediately said, I need to do this. And I guess that's what kind of baffles me. It just kind of came out of nowhere that you said, I need to do this.
I did. And I never looked back. I knew it was going to happen. I just didn't know when it was going to happen. And he ended up turning into my best friend. We talked every single day, and it helped because he was a doctor. He was a surgeon. So any questions that I had in the process from start to finish, he was able to answer for me. It was just, I know that I blessed his life and I changed his life, but he changed mine in the process as well. He ended up passing away on November 19th of 2022, at the age of 83. He caught COVID, and his body just couldn't fight it. I miss him every single day, but I gave him 2.5 years of his life back, which is all that I needed.
Wow, that's amazing. And it's like you kind of knew him, but you didn't know him. That's what's truly amazing to me. Now, in the process where, you had to change to a different hospital. Now, I know with a normal kidney transplant, I can't say this isn't normal, but it's somewhat different. Now, did you had to obviously go through all the screening, all the interviews, because what I am always told with a living donor, you have until they say lights out, we're going to the surgery room to change your mind. Never did you pause even once in that direction, right?
No, I never paused. Even through him going to all these other hospitals, they were in contact with me the whole time. Until they did screening on him fully and gave him the go ahead, they did not do, they had me doing testing on the outside, but when you're a donor, you have to go. So I had to fly out. So to kind of give you a cool story, and it's one that's so important to me, my family from start to finish, they were my biggest cheerleaders in this, including my husband. I would have never done it if my husband was not for this. And my aunt, which is my mom's twin sister, she passed away on May 5th of 2019. She was one of my biggest cheerleaders with this as well, no matter his age. We're very Christian-based family, and they knew that God had put this on my heart, and that if I went through this process, that he would carry me through to the end of my life. And whenever I got called in 2020 to go to Mayo Clinic in Minnesota, they asked me to fly out on May 5th, which of course is a date that is so important to me. That's the date of my Aunt Karen. That's the day that she had passed away. And so I flew out on May 5th of 2020, and I did so much testing in 24 hours that I had a list of every doctor's appointment that I had to be at and the times that I had to be there. And it was just nonstop all day, each day for 2 days. And my husband, he was my rock through it. And by the time I was coming out of another doctor's appointment, he already knew where we would be going in this hospital for the next appointment. And then we got the call. I want to say it was, oh gosh, I just forgot the date of when we got the call, but it was the end of May that we got the call that I was a perfect match for Dr. Serra.
Wow.
And that we could go ahead and schedule the operation. They originally scheduled it for June 24th of 2020 because a kidney donation, I don't know if this is the way it is for other donations as well, but a kidney donation is a elective surgery, and they were not doing any surgeries due to COVID at that time. So they ended up calling us back and saying, no, you're going to be one of the first operations that we have going once we open the elective surgeries. And so my aunt's celebration of life was on June 8th of 2019. I got the call to fly out on June 8th of 2020. And so I just knew that she was with me in this whole process as well. So I just thought that was really cool. And so we flew out on June 8th and donated June 11th of 2020. So most people are on anti-rejection medications, several of them once you come out of surgery.
Yes.
He was on 2.
Okay.
They said that he did not need many anti-rejection medications at all because of our match. And by the time, I want to say it was 6 weeks after the operation, he was on a half of a pill. He did not need many anti-rejection medications at all.
Wow. That's pretty amazing.
Yes.
Because
yes.
I have 2 organs, which probably makes things a little bit more difficult because I have a heart and a kidney, but I got the heart. And then with all the drugs that I had to take to keep the heart going, the kidneys went out. So that was like, years later, not tons of years later, but it was still a little bit later. So I guess my main question is I want to ask too, because I'm going to try to get both sides of this story because I've heard so much about the other side. So I have not heard that much from the donor side. So this is going to be an experience for me and you, because they say also, as when I got my heart and my kidney, had to go through psychological, visitations. My wife also had to go because she was my caregiver, and they needed to make sure that they weren't giving an organ to someone that, was going to waste it away. They wanted to make sure you had a good caregiver. They wanted to make sure I was stable. But they also tell me that the donors have to go through a vigorous process of not, I guess, mental testing or psychological testing, maybe is the wrong word to use, but that type of thing.
Yeah, that is correct. I did have to go through that, and I had to do that away from my husband. Nobody was allowed to be with me when I did that testing. I also had to sign a form stating that I was not being paid at all for any type of donation. And I said, absolutely not. And I had to go through, because if he were to pass away on the table, would I be able to handle it emotionally? So yes, I had to go through a lot of testing. And to also kind of give you a little insight on me, that is a miracle that I was even able to donate at all. I have horrible health. I had a thyroidectomy when I was 24 years old. I do not have a thyroid at all. I had to have a full hysterectomy in 2024. I have had 13 bowel obstruction operations. Part of the I've had bowel resections as well. So I also don't have appendix. I don't have a gallbladder. You name it. I've had all the ectomies that you can think of. And so to be able to even donate a kidney, they said I would probably never be able to do that, and that they were very iffy on whether or not they were going to allow me to donate because of the amount of abdominal operations that I have had. Because after surgery, you do have the chance of having obstructions afterwards and things like that from all the medications that you're on. And they said that because of the perfect kidney that I had and the testing that came back from all the testing that we did, and that I was a perfect match, they allowed me to go ahead and donate to him.
Yeah, because I would think, with all of that, and also probably, and I'll ask this, and I mean, it's a personal question. If you don't want to answer, that's perfectly okay. In all these surgeries, obviously, you've had some blood transfusions, right?
I've never had a blood transfusion.
Okay, because I was going to say that would change a little bit of your antibodies. And
absolutely. If I would have ever had yes. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just saying, I mean, you can explain to me and the audience, because I couldn't explain anyway, but I know it changes your antibodies, which has a lot to do, like when you need a second organ, like if you had a kidney and you need another kidney down the road, but you've had lots of blood, then all of a sudden your antibodies are going to be all out of whack. And that can cause even a rougher time as far as finding a match. I know that, but now I'll hear it from the matchee side, which is yours.
Yes. If I were to ever receive a blood transfusion, I would not be able to donate. Also, if you are on any type of blood pressure medication before the age of 40, you are not allowed to be a kidney donor, which was amazing to me. I am on blood pressure medication. They had to get reports from my doctor that I was on blood pressure medication after the age of 40. It was 2 days after I turned 40 that I was put on blood pressure medication.
Now, let me ask you this again. With all of this and you learning of all of this and already knowing your past, I'm using, I guess, the devil's advocate, because I'm thinking if that was me, or probably 90% of the other people out in this world, they would go, not worth it. But you were there 100% all the way.
Yes.
That's amazing.
Yes. And I still would never change a thing. Even though he only lived 2.5 years after I donated, I would still do it all over again.
And it was never even a close friend, just a friend of your, a patron that you knew through your husband's business.
Yes.
Truly amazing story. And you are truly, young lady, a hero. That is for sure. It's amazing. Now let's get to, now that, you've decided, you've went through the testing, you've got to the donation day, and you've donated. Now let's say there is someone out there who would be interested in either donating a kidney to a friend, or nowadays, you can actually just walk in and say, I want to donate a kidney. And if you pass all the tests, they'll say, okay, you could, still, you don't have to know anybody. We can still help you. But now, how was the after? Let's because I know there was some recovery.
Yes. Now, I will tell you, Dr. Serra had a much better recovery process than I did. He actually only took 1 Tylenol after the operation. He felt absolutely amazing, which I do hear that is common after, because he's receiving an organ that is making him feel great again. no more dialysis. But I ended up having a very hard time. I had to go back into the hospital. I ended up with a bowel obstruction. And Mayo Clinic took such great care of me. They don't only take care of the recipients, they truly do take care of their donors as well. And they were on top of everything. I had to stay at the hospital or I had to stay at a hotel within a certain mileage range to the hospital, which the hotel was connected that we stayed. And I had to stay there for at least 11 days before I was able to fly home. So that way, if there are any aftermath that they see or anything that you need to, you still have doctor's appointments and things like that after. And so I stayed for 11 days, and it is I would say about a 6 to 12 week recovery process for what I had. But I don't know if that would be the same for somebody else, because I ended up with another bowel obstruction afterwards, because I do have a history of that.
Yes.
But it was only more of, I was tired. I was very tired after the donation. I was slow moving for a while. I would say it took me about 6 to 8 weeks before I had full energy back. But I felt better every single day. I was lucky enough that we owned our own business. And so I didn't have to be in work every single day, and that I could make that decision of if I was going in or I wasn't going in. But it was a longer process for me. I would still tell somebody that it's not a process at all for me that should stop somebody from donating. But it did take me a little bit longer. I would probably say 6 to 8 weeks, but I was fully back after that or so. But I have felt amazing every day since. I have my kidneys checked about every 6 months. My kidney levels are the best they've ever been right now. And Mayo Clinic, for 2 years, they would send me every 6 months. They would send me a kit in the mail for me to do blood work, and they pretty much called it that I was under warranty. So for 2 years, that's what they said. So
I always say
2 years.
When I go back in, I say, yeah, they got to put me up on the lift again and change the oil and make sure I'm still running properly.
That's right. That's right. And they did say that if I was to ever be hospitalized, that I would have to tell them that I was under Mayo Clinic's care. And I will tell you, by far, that is probably the best hospital I have ever been a part of. They truly do care. I just have nothing but amazing things to say about Mayo Clinic. Especially, I'm a little partial to the Minnesota Mayo Clinic, but it's just been, I truly do believe that I'm doing amazing on one kidney. And I wish more people would realize that what it does for somebody else's life, just to donate the other kidney if you're able to do so, or any organ of that matter. I know being a kidney donor, you can do that as a living donor, as well as, I want to say, the liver.
Yeah, liver, because it takes just a small piece of a liver. But
yes.
I've actually, and I mean, it's in a way funny, but as I said, I had a heart transplant followed by a kidney transplant a few years later. Mm-hmm. But I have actually had people come up to me and said, "Do you communicate? Did you get to meet your donor?" And they meant for the heart, and I go, "Well, no, I didn't. We don't. I don't know. It's I guess they thought I could have a living donor with a heart, but." And then after you tell them, oh yeah, that's right. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Yes. And I think that is what was so cool about the process with Dr. Serra and I is we got to do it together. And I got to walk into his room after the right after the donation and surprise him in there. And it was such an emotional process. And it was one that I just wish other people could experience what that was like. I am such a firm believer in kidney donations. It has not slowed me down at all having one kidney.
Let me ask you about that. Okay, your surgeries are done. He's doing well. You're recovering. He's recovering. But that first meeting, okay, we're going to roll you down to his room, or, that's probably what they did.
My husband walked with me down, and I had to be held up like from behind. And then I was on a little thing that I could lay my arms on to walk down. And I had walked down to him, and when I'd opened his door and I walked in, and there's a face that he makes, and I'll send you the picture if I didn't send it to you, but it's a moment I forget. And I remember him telling me, no more dialysis, and I feel amazing. And it was a couple of hours within me donating. And I was all drugged up, but I will never, ever, ever forget it. We just held hands and just sat there for a moment, got to take it all in, what had just happened. It was, like I said, even though he was 81 years old when I donated, it was still like, it never bothered me. Just the coolest experience. And I know that a lot of people questioned my decisions. I actually lost a couple of friends over it. But I was okay with that because I was okay with my decision.
Oh, wow.
And
that's sad to hear that you lost friends over it.
Yeah. Some people just thought I was crazy for doing that. Some people said, what if your kids need your kidney? That doesn't mean I'm a match for my kids if they needed a kidney. They said, what if your sisters? And I said, God put this on my heart to do it, and God's going to carry me through the whole way. And I do believe that. And I don't know if you're aware of this, but when you are a kidney donor, you go to the top of the list if something were to happen to your one kidney, to receive a kidney.
Now, see, that's something new that I've learned today. So thanks for sharing.
Yes. So if something were to happen to my one kidney, I go to the top of the list to receive one. Now, when Dr. Serra passed, they told me that my kidney was still as perfect as it was when he passed. And okay, so does he get to donate it to somebody else now? And they said, no, once you donate, it's one and done.
Yeah.
But I know that the kidney was still just as perfect. That's not what took him. And so, but they traveled the world, him and Gloria Austin. They traveled the world together. She has a place in upstate New York, a farm up there, and he couldn't travel for so long. They did ballroom dancing. They did competitions together. He got to do those for the last 2.5 years of his life, and I got to watch it.
Well, let me tell you, you are truly a hero. There's no doubt about it. And when the judgment day comes or whatever, you will probably get instant sainthood.
Mm-hmm. I don't feel like a hero. I just want people to know what donating a kidney does. And it's like I said, I know that I blessed his life, but he blessed mine just as much. And I'm a changed human for it.
And in closing, tell us why. Because I noticed you said that a few times in the interview. And so, how you've been blessed. Let us know let us know how, in your words.
He is a part of me, and I was a part of him. And I think it's something, I think nobody, unless you're in those shoes and nobody understands what it is like when he was living because of my kidney. And that is something that I cannot explain to anybody, but I got to watch that. I got to watch that for 2.5 years. I got to be with him when he got his life back on June 11th of 2020, and I got to be there when he passed away in November 19th of 2023. I got to, it's just so hard to explain what the blessings he gave me. I got to dance with him. I got to meet his entire family. It's just amazing to me that a man that was from the Philippines, I was a perfect match with. That's just something that will make you wonder how that's even possible. And it's possible through God. And it's just changed my life forever. Well, even though he's not here, he's with me every single day.
Well, a quick story about, how perfect matches can come together. I will tell you this, that when I got my heart, most times they have to give a little electroshock to get it pumping again. Because they came to, after the surgery, obviously, they said, we let go of the clamps, and which is something we rarely see. The heart started beating immediately on its own, which told us that heart was made for you. And so I understand what you're saying there.
That is amazing. Donation, it gives me chills every time I think about it or talk about it, because it's just so amazing what donations do and how important they are for people. And just, I tell everybody that I can my story, and I tell people God gave you 2 kidneys, and if you're able to donate one of them, donate one of them. Dr. Serra had told me that if I was not able to donate to him, that he was going off dialysis and that he was done. He couldn't, dialysis is just...
It's brutal, yeah. Especially for older people.
It's absolutely brutal. Yes, it is brutal. And he was on it 3 days a week. And he would start to feel better, and then he'd have to go right back. And it's just been... just to get to see him go through every life again, it's just amazing.
Well, Lisa, is there anything you would like to share before we let you go? Your story is truly amazing, and thanks for sharing. But is there anything lastly that you would like to say?
Donate if you can. It's life-changing. It's just amazing. Listen to your heart. Listen to when God speaks to you. If he's telling you to donate, then reach out to a hospital and just let them know that you'd like to be tested or go through the process.
Thank you so much, Lisa, for your gift of life and sharing your amazing story with us all. Join us next week for another touching episode, Gift of Life, the Organ Transplant Podcast. If you have a transplant story you'd like to share, please reach out to us at bjodom55@gmail.com and connect with us on Facebook, Gift of Life, the Organ Transplant Podcast. Until next time, I'm BJ Odom, thanking you for being part of our journey, reminding us all to appreciate each day and cherish the extraordinary gift of life.